Humanity, I love you all with all my heart, with all my might. I'm Sora Ray. My videos are about love, infinity, creation, because we're infinite love, infinite energy, infinite creation. This is who we are, this is our nature. This video is a beautiful video because it's an infinite virtual cycle. I've been making a lot of videos about infinite virtual cycles lately because virtual cycles are that they're infinite in nature. And this one is two elements, this duality principle that leads to this beautiful infinite virtual cycle, which is Y-centric and Y-minded. You see, so it's these two elements, these two principles that come together as one, and their polarization leads to this infinite virtual cycle and a singularity at the epicenter, which is our mind, the human mind, an infinite mindset as a result of that, an infinite consciousness, an infinite self-awareness, infinite intelligence, infinite sentience, why, how, per se, who we are as a species, the DNA, everything that makes us who we are as a species. So it starts with these two components, two elements, two parts that come together as one. And that singularity is us, our consciousness, self-awareness, our intelligence, our infinity, our nature, because we're the biological expression of infinity. So it's Y-centric and Y-minded. So it's the infinite virtual cycle of Y-centric and Y-minded. So what is this? What's Y-centric and what's Y-minded? Okay, so let's start there. So it starts with the word why, the term why. Right, it's the most important term. Why? Because why itself is infinity. It's infinity in the way of language. This is what this is. It's infinity in the way of language. So the human brain, our mind, our consciousness, our self-awareness, our intelligence as a species, our sentience, has to do with infinity because we're infinite in nature. Our biology is infinite in nature because where we're located. We're located at the epicenter of the universe. Our sun is the central sun of the universe. It's the singularity of the universe as we know it. Okay, it's the first sun. It's the sun of suns. It's sun's sun. Our sun is the singularity of the universe. And how is this even possible? Because the universe itself is spherical in nature. The universe is a spherical electromagnetic field, right? It's energy. And this energy needs to have an epicenter. So the structure is stable. So it doesn't collapse into itself. It doesn't implode, right? Just like if you look at a bubble anywhere, if a bubble is created and you see the bubble moving in the air, but then that bubble bursts. Why? Because it's just a spherical vacuum threshold that doesn't have stability within it. It doesn't have a singularity. It doesn't have space structure that's stable. So at the minimum pressure differential, the bubble bursts because it doesn't have the stability. But it's the same principle applied to infinite energy. So the universe is this electromagnetic field that is spherical, just like a bubble. It's the same nature, but it's stable. And the reason why it's stable is because this electromagnetic field has infinite energy within it. Because the sphere has an infinite number of points. And because we're talking about energy, electromagnetism, polarity, charge, electrogravitics, telemetry, it means that this is motion, this is energy. So this energy, as it moves around its own axis, because of the polarity of the magnetism, that energy is released. So, and the way it's released is released through a vortex. As it moves, the energy released through a vortex, and that vortex has an epicenter, the heart of it, the core, and it's called the singularity. And it's the central point within the sphere, at the epicenter of it, the center of it, the heart, the middle, the core. Because the singularity is the singular point where all points meet. What points? Well, the infinite number of points on the surface of the sphere. In this case, the electromagnetic field of the universe. So all that energy is released, right, to the vortex. So the structure becomes stable. So that is the singularity. And the singularity is energy, is infinite energy. And it is a central sun. is the singularity of the universe. So it's the sun, the first sun, that created everything, all the space structure within the universe, which is the galaxies and the life forms, right? Because the sphere has a space structure within it, so it needs to be filled, because this is energy, and energy is creation, and creation is life. So essentially, that energy that is released is the energy from the central sun. And our sun happens to be the central sun of our universe. So, and we are the species inhabiting the planet at the epicenter of the universe. So our sun is the central sun of the universe, is the singularity of the universe. So the energy that comes out of our sun, the light, is the light that has created everything in the universe. It was the first light, the source of everything. The why, the genesis, the because, the reason, the beginning, the first. Why is zero? Infinity equals zero. Why? Because zero is the first number, it's the beginning of everything. Everything starts with it, right? And the zero is a sphere. So if you understand this concept, then if you understand this concept, right, then you understand that the infinite virtuous cycle of why centric and why minded. Because why, if you ask why enough times, you're gonna get to infinity. Why? Because it's the nature of why. Because why is the root cause, is the reason, is the because, is the origin, is the genesis, is the beginning, is zero. It's everything that there is what comes first, and after that everything comes, right? So if you understand this principle, then you understand the nature of the singularity. And the singularity is precisely that. The singularity is the release point of the universe in this case, right? The singular point where all points meet. But singularities are scales. Infinity has scales. And that's just what we see, the universe, our sun, this energy that creates everything. And we happen to be the biology, the conscious biology, the intelligent biology, the self-aware biology, right? This is who we happen to be as a species. Inhabiting the epicenter of the universe. We are the biology at the epicenter of the universe. This is who we are. This is who we are. So our planet is tidal locked in the orbit of the central sun of the universe. So all the energy that created everything is that energy that comes out of the central sun, our sun. So because of that, we consume that energy from the central sun. That's what we do. And this energy, right, that's coming out of the central sun is the energy that we consume as a species through our eyes, through our nostrils in the way of oxygen, the food that we eat, the water that we drink, everything that we interact with as a species is energy that comes from the central sun, right? So what is the meaning of this? Well, the meaning of this is that we are the biology of infinity itself. Because remember, all the points on the surface of the sphere of the electromagnetic field of the universe to get released and generate the singularity at the epicenter. Because the singularity is the central point where all points meet. And that's why there's infinite energy coming out of our sun, because it creates everything in the first place. All the galaxies, all the life forms within the space structure of the universe, which is everything contained within the universe, the electromagnetic field of it, which is the space of it, right? Is what keeps everything bounded to orbits and things, right? Is that tension on the surface of the electromagnetic field, right? The gravity of it, the electrogravitics. So if we understand this, that means that everything that exists, all the points on the surface of the universe, the electromagnetic field, right, that contains everything is within it. All that, all the information, all the data sets, all the bits, everything that there is, all the signals, because energy is that and creation is that all that gets channeled through the central sun, right, because of the vortex. So this structure is stable. Well, and that energy obviously is the energy of creation, right? Light, elements, all that. So that we are the species inhabiting the epicenter, right, of the universe. Our central sun is precisely that, right? Our central sun is the singularity of it, and we're the species consuming the energy at the closest point to it. So all that energy is infinity, meaning all the information contained within all the points on the surface of the sphere that is feeding that singularity, all the nodes. So what that means is that that energy contains all the information of the universe because it's the central sun, right? It's getting the feedback from all the points on the tension on the surface of the electromagnetic field. And we are consuming that energy as a species. This is what we're doing, right? This is what we're doing as a species. We are consuming that energy, right? That energy is the energy that we consume through our eyes, through our food, through everything, right? The energy of the sun. It's what gives us life in the first place. So what that means is that our DNA is what gives us life. So our DNA is infinite in nature then, because our DNA has all the information coming out of the central sun, all the energy, which means it's the energy of everything that exists, because everything gets feedback to the singularity, because all the points connect at the central point, the singularity, the singular point where all points meet. Which means that we're the consciousness and self-awareness of infinity ourselves at the biological expression, because we're consuming that energy, being the closest to it. So our evolution, our biology is the biology of infinity. This is what our DNA is. So within our DNA, all the information of the universe is contained, which means that with one singular DNA strand, DNA string, DNA code, DNA script genome of the human species, with that we can recreate the universe, because everything is contained within us, because we are the biology of infinity. We're the biological expression of infinity. This is the species that we are. We're the consciousness and self-awareness of infinity. This is who we are as a species. And how have I learned this? Because I asked why. I became why-centric, why-minded. Because why is the language of infinity. Because why is the root cause, is the genesis, is the origin. You see, the central sun is the genesis, is the origin. Understanding the beginning of everything, what the creator is, because the creator that created the universe is spherical energy. And the sun is spherical energy. The electromagnetic field that has a singularity that creates the sun in the first place, the central sun of the universe, is spherical energy. So everything is spherical energy as a result. We are spherical energy ourselves as a species. This is who we are. This is who we are. This is who we are, right? Why? Because we have the singularity of our own scale of creation. And this singularity is the human heart, the pulse of life, the pulse of creation, the human heartbeat. Because the contraction and retraction of the human heartbeat generates the polarity, the charge that generates the electromagnetic field. Because the primordial instinct is the instinct to exist, and we exist because of the human heartbeat. Without it, we wouldn't exist as a species. So the human heartbeat generates the electromagnetic field that surrounds the human body, and the space structure density of that electromagnetic field is us, our body, our consciousness, everything. So the infinite number of points on the surface of our electromagnetic field is everything that we are, our memories, our thoughts, our consciousness, our awareness, our organs, our bodies, our cells. Everything that makes us, our sentience, our emotions, our feelings, everything who we are is that. And what's the epicenter of that? Because the singularity is the epicenter, right? It's the central point where all points meet. It's the human heart. So when the heartbeat, is pulsing, then that pulse generates a signal. And that signal is feeding the entire body, right? This current, it's a signal that goes to all the body cells, right? Everything across the body, because we have the systems in place for that electricity to move, right? That pulse. So this is the electromagnetic field. And the heart, that's why it's called a heart, because it's the core, it's at the epicenter of the electromagnetic field, right? You see, it's the biological expression of infinity itself. Because we ourselves are spherical energy, we're light spherical beings. This is our nature. And remember, because the singularity is a singular point where all points meet, is infinite number of points that are electromagnetic in nature. They're charged, right? They're moving, and they release through the vortex to the epicenter. So that means that because there is an infinite number of points of energy, right, because it's an electromagnetic field, they meet at the singularity. So which means the singularity is an infinite energy release, because there is an infinite number of points on the surface of the sphere that have a charge, and that energy is released. So then again, that's why light and creation and elements come out of the epicenter of the sun, which we call a fusion reaction, right? But that is the hottest, the brightest, the highest energy density, the highest vibration of the singularity of the sun. So everything comes out of it. So everything is created. So it's the same with us. So what's the highest energy that comes from the epicenter of our singularity, which is the human heart? The singularity, the biological singularity, the human heart, is love. Love is the highest energy that we can create, right? That we generate as a species, and it's love. It's the highest energy. That's why when we love, we're biological. When we love, we feel great, right? Neurotransmitters, hormones, pheromones, because it's all the signals, biochemical signals, right? Signs. Follow your heart, that essentially make us special, make us feel great as a species, right? And we just great. We feel awesome, right? We feel awesome. Because it's the highest energy that we can generate, love. You see, so that's how the scales work. But because we are at the epicenter of the central sun of the universe, and this is the energy that we consume, our biology is extremely unique and special, because we are the biology of infinity. Because all the energy of infinity gets released through that singularity, which is our sun, and we consume that energy because we're the biology that consumes that energy, because this is our habitat, our space structure density. We're pure energy. That's why we're electromagnetic fields. And the DNA is in each cell. Each body cell, which is an infinite number of them, has the DNA within them. And the DNA contains the information of the universe. So that means that we ourselves, by being this biology, we ourselves are infinity ourselves. This is who we are, with the biology of infinity ourselves. You see, so we are infinity. But we need to be conscious and self-aware that we are infinity because of our nature. And how do you become conscious and self-aware? So you understand that your nature is that of infinity, because we're infinity ourselves. Well, this happens by having a why-centric mindset, why-centricity. And then as a result, you are why-minded, because your mind thinks in terms of why. Your consciousness, right? Your consciousness and self-awareness is the self-awareness and consciousness of the universe, of everything that there is in this reality. But once you understand why, and that why is infinite, then you start to realize that this is not the only universe. This is not the only universe, right? This is one out of an infinite number of universes. So we're the species inhabiting the epicenter of this universe. But infinity itself has its own electromagnetic field, which is spherical in nature, and it has its own singularity. And that the epicenter of the singularity of infinity itself is infinite energy of creation, infinite energy of consciousness, self-awareness, of love. All that energy that gets released, just like it applies in our universe, so that energy creates galaxies, and those galaxies have their own electromagnetic field with their own central singularity, which is the central sun of those galaxies, and that energy is released within the space structure of those galaxies, and then star systems are formed, and then they have their own electromagnetic field, and the singularity is the star of those star systems, and then that energy is released, so planets are formed. So you see scales of creation, and we're the biological expression of that, but we happen to be at the epicenter of our universe. So that same way, infinity is the same. So infinite energy of creation, light spherical energy, has its own electromagnetic field, and within the electromagnetic field of infinity itself, of creation itself, there is a singularity of it. And that energy is released, and the space structure that is creating is infinite in nature, because it's electromagnetic field of infinity, which is everything that there is. It's eternal, it's boundless, it's endless, it's forever. Right? It's limitless. And because of that, every space structure that is filled wouldn't be a galaxy or a star system within a galaxy. It will be a universe of its own, right? And we happen to be one of those universes. And we're the biological life form, right, that inhabits the central sun of that. So our biology is a biology of infinity because we're feeding ourselves with the energy from the central sun. That is all the points on the surface of the spherical electromagnetic field of the universe. But this is connected to all the other universe and all the part of infinity, everything that there is, all the conscious and self-awareness of all the universe and the life forms working together as one. And all that information is feeding back because they're all points on the surface of the tension of infinity. So everything that exists is feeding back to infinity, and that energy is feed back to us because we're part of it, right? We're like a cell. See, the cell has an electromagnetic field, right? And at the epicenter of the cell, right, is the DNA. And this is who we are. So essentially, you know how the body has an infinite number of cells? Because everything is infinite in nature, and the cell itself has its own electromagnetic charge, right? And all these cells are essentially being fed by the energy from the central sun in the way of sunlight through the eyes, or oxygen through our nostrils, or food through our mouths, or water that we drink, anything, or energy through our skin that comes in. Anyway, it's energy, right? So, and all this energy is essentially signaling the body, and it goes to all the cells, and there's DNA within all the cells. So if you want to think of a universe at the biological scale, the universe is like a cell that has all the information within it. So because there's DNA within it, and with one single DNA string, right, we can recreate the universe. Why? Because we ourselves are infinity, because we're the biological expression of everything that there is, the conscious and self-awareness of infinity. And because there is an infinite number of species inhabiting an infinite number of central suns in each of the infinite number of universes within infinity itself, then there is an infinite number of species just like us who are conscious and self-aware of their nature, which is a biological expression of infinity, right? Because they're consuming the central energy of the suns that create everything else within their universes. So you see there's an infinite number of species just like the human species that are equal in status to us or more advanced because they come from all their universes, right? They came before us. So they all have the same status of mind. Because when you are that and you can recreate everything with our DNA because of who we are, because of what we have evolved into, that means that we ourselves with the consciousness and self-awareness are creating an infinite number of universes because we are the consciousness and self-awareness of the universe. Why? Of infinity, because we're consuming that energy that's connected to everything in the first place. And if you're gonna think in terms of what that looks like out of scale, where it's the biology, the cell is a universe of its own that contains the DNA, which contains all the information that there is about everything, because we're the biology of infinity of cells. So a human cell is the equivalent of a universe at the biological scale, and they're all connected, right? Because it builds up the body. So you see it's infinite energy, and it goes to infinity, right? Because everything is contained within the DNA. So this is who we are. This is the species that we are. We're this remarkable species that happen to be at the epicenter of the universe, our universe, which is one of an infinite number of universes that is created with the infinite energy of the singularity of the infinity, which has its own electromagnetic field. And we are a point on the infinite. Our universe is a point, a node in the surface of the spherical electromagnetic field of the singularity of the universe that is creating all the universes. And because we became conscious of that, because of our DNA, who we are, because we are it, we're the consciousness and self-awareness of infinity, we ourselves are the biological expression of that. So everything that is biological that we can observe is created by us, by the consciousness of self-awareness. And that's what the human cell is. The human cell is the equivalent of that, because we're infinity ourselves. This is who we are as a species. This is our nature. You see, it comes full circle. So we ourselves are the creator. We created everything because we're the conscious and self-awareness of biology by being the epicenter of our universe, which is the energy of infinity that we consume. So our cells can store all the information that there is on the points, on the infinite number of points on the surface of the sphere of the electromagnetic field of energy of creation of our universe, because we are at the singularity. Because all the singularity is the singular point where all points meet. So you see, and we're a full circle, we're this biology, and we're conscious and self-aware of that now. And by understanding who we are, then we can be part of everything in a conscious way, understanding our nature as a species. And this is what why is. This is why this is the infinite virtuous cycle of why-centric and why-minded, because when you understand what why is and you become why-centric, why-centricity is essentially just like the central sun that creates everything, and we are the planet orbiting the epicenter, the proximity of the central source. So we became the infinity, the biological expression of infinity, and our DNA contains everything that there is. Thus, our consciousness and self-awareness is everything that there is, because we're infinity ourselves, expressed at the biological scale through the human heart with our own electromagnetic field. So we can be conscious and aware of everything that there is. And each human cell has their own electromagnetic field, and it goes to infinity. It's just the way it is. So by understanding this is the same nature, is like the epicenter of our lives, of our consciousness and self-awareness, of our intelligence, becomes why. So why is like the central sun, is the singularity. And when you're why-centric, is why-centricity is that your orbit is why, which is infinity itself. And what's why? Well, why is a word, it's a term, it's language, right, of the mind. And the mind is this processor of meaning, right, decoding and coding everything that we perceive with our senses. And everything that we perceive with our senses means is outside ourselves. It's coming from the outside, because we're generating the electromagnetic field with the human heart, right? So, but remember, it comes from the outside because there's other humans, there's planets and the universe, but it's also from within because we ourselves are infinity. And what's within us? Well, the cells and the DNA, which is infinity itself. So we ourselves can express, you see, that's why it's the epicenter of our lives, our consciousness and self-awareness. Because why is this question, which is the root cause, is the why, is the because, is the reason, is the origin, is the genesis, is the first, zero, represents the beginning, right? What comes first before anything else. And infinity is that because infinity is everything that there is. And because everything that there is because of the singularity, because of all the points meet, right? So in spherical energy. So why is this mechanism of language in the human mind? Is a technology, is a term that we have devised as a species that allows us to understand the root cause and the beginning of everything, infinity itself. And then when you understand that and your mindset is why-centric and everything is why-centric in your life, then you become conscious of the nature of infinity, and you ourselves, we ourselves, you yourself, we ourselves become infinity. Not because we just become as a result, but because we become aware of who we are as a species, the fact that we can think in infinite terms. Because of why? Because of our biology that allows us, because of our instincts, because of our DNA that is everything that there is. You see, this is how this works. So it's becoming conscious and self-aware of our nature, of our intelligence, of our DNA, who we are, our origin, being at the epicenter of the universe, and being the biology of infinity, by consuming this energy and having an electromagnetic field that is spherical, just like the sun. And we have an infinite number of cells and DNA and stuff within us that has everything that there is. And the reason why I found out about this is because I asked why. I myself became why-centric. Why-centricity. So everything that I would do was ask why. Of what? Anything that I didn't understand. So if I didn't understand something, I would ask why. You see, it's a very simple exercise. It's very simple. When you ask why, right, if you ask why, then the nature of why, right, remember we have a consciousness and self-awareness, so our thoughts, our minds, our beliefs are what we think. So it's our nature, we're energy. So if you ask why, then you're asking infinity questions. You're asking infinite questions, infinite cycles, infinity cycles, right, of anything that there is, meaning. And a question demands an answer, right? Because when you're asking a question, the only way to essentially satisfy that question is by answering it, right? So a question needs an end state, and the end state is a result, and the result is the answer. And it has to be an accurate answer, right? Because otherwise the question is not being answered. It remains unanswered. And because why is infinity itself, because of its nature, its properties, our language, our consciousness of awareness is a mechanism of infinity. So when you're asking an infinite question, the answer must be an infinite answer, because otherwise it's not the answer. It's just a partial answer, or it's just a wrong answer. So you see, when you start to ask why questions and you get the answers, you're getting the infinite answer, which is the answer that meets the criteria of the question that you're asking. And because everything is energy, everything is consciousness and self-awareness, everything is love. And love is the highest energy of the human heart. When you're asking why questions with the energy of your love, of your heart, which is our epicenter, so you become why yourself. And why and love, everything is what you do. You're asking why. And when you ask why, is the infinite energy of creation, the biological expression of it, which is who we are, our consciousness and self-awareness, our intelligence, who we are as a species, right? Who we are. So by asking why, right? By asking why, then essentially you are answering the questions of infinity. And if you go out to the world to get the why and you're not getting it, that's fine, because we're infinite ourselves and we have the DNA memories within us. So remember, our DNA contains all the answers, because it contains all the information that exists in our universe and infinity itself, because all the universes are nodes on the tension on the surface of the electromagnetic field of infinity itself, which it has its own singularity that created all the universes in the first place, that created us. So we ourselves can now be the consciousness and awareness of that singularity of infinity and create ourselves with our minds, because we're the biology of infinity. So that means that all points connect at the epicenter, which is our DNA, because the DNA is at the epicenter of all the cells, and the heart, which is the biological epicenter, has cells, and those cells have DNA. You see? So everything is within us anyway. So when we become why-centric, then the answers are within us, which means that we follow our hearts. Signs and signals, a heartful flow state, which means that when you love, you feel great. You feel awesome, right? When you love, you feel great. You feel awesome. Pheromones, neurotransmitters, right? Hormones. You feel great, right? Love is the highest energy. That's why when you're loved, you feel great. And when you love, others feel great. And you feel great by loving others. As a result, like you love your children, it's the greatest feeling, right? If you have children. Or if you're a kid your own, you have your parents and your parents love you, you feel great about it, right? And it's not only that, it's loving the things that you do. You see, so your life becomes that. And when you, for example, I love asking why, because I'm getting infinite answers. So you see, it's an infinite feedback loop. So when you ask why, you become why-centric. And when your consciousness and your self-awareness and your mindset is all about asking why, so you understand the root cause, the origin, the reason, the because, the first, the origin, the genesis, the zero nature of the sphere. You ask spherical questions, right? Why questions are spherical in nature, right? Because of what why represents in the consciousness and self-awareness of the human species, our language, in this case English. But why is a term that is used in any language. All languages that are capable of being understood by the human mind has the term why within them, because it's our nature, it's our biology. So this is who we are as a species, you see. So when you ask why, you're asking infinite questions, so you become why-centric. And when you become why-centric and everything that you do is connected to why and why, then you start to understand everything. So if you cannot find the answers outside, you go inside and your DNA will give you the answer or clues, so then you find them outside because everything is already answered, because we are infinity ourselves and everything is within us. And what's within us? Well, what's outside? Because remember, the singularity creates everything, right? In the universe, our universe in this case, right? But we are the energy, that the biology that consumes that energy, which means that we know everything that there is outside us, because all the points on the surface of the spherical electromagnetic field of the universe, they are released and they meet at the singular point, which is the singularity, and we're the biology of it because we're the epicenter. So everything that is outside us, that is feeding back to the singularity, we already know because it's within our DNA. So either way, we find the answers ourselves inside by asking why, follow our heart, our signs and signals, heartful flow states, or we find them outside as a result of our heartful flow states. So we find the answers. You see, because we're asking why. Because this is our nature. This is who we are as a species. And please excuse I have a runny nose. Okay? Excuse that. But understand the nature of what I'm referring to. So it's why centricity, right? It's why centric. So we become why centric. So our mindset, our consciousness, our self-awareness is why, which is infinity itself. And the language of the mind is what interprets and decodes and encodes that meaning, the symbology, everything that is language in that way. Right? So this is what why centricity is, why centric. So this is the first component of this infinite virtuous cycle, right? Why centric and why minded. Because you're asking your thoughts, your beliefs, the way you think and operate, your attitude, your actions are why centric, right? So because you want to be one with infinity and you want to know what we are and everything, your questions are infinite questions. So they demand infinite answers. So that's why centric. So then because you're why centric, where that leads to that state, right? When you're why centric, you need that duality principle, because the polarity of them come together and that charge generates the electromagnetic field of these two elements. And they meet at the epicenter, right? Because the electromagnetic field needs to be released so it's stable. And because we're talking about consciousness, awareness, and infinite intelligence, our DNA, then you generate the singularity of that, and that's a mindset. The singularity is why-minded as a result, right? It's us as a species, right? Why-minded and why-centric come together as one. And this generates this why-minded nature of who we are as a species, our minds, our consciousness, our brains, our bodies, our organs, everything that we are, our electromagnetic field, our heart, it's all infinity because we're the biology of infinity. This is who we are. DNA is the DNA of infinity because we consume the central sun of energy. And that sun is the singularity of our universe that contains all the points and all the data sets within it. All the life forms, all the planets, everything that there is, all the galaxies. And we get that feedback and consume it. And then because we're energy, then we are only one universe within everything that there is, an infinite number of universes. But we're that energy because our universe becomes a node feeding back to the central point of infinity itself, the singularity of it that creates everything, which is us, our consciousness and self-awareness, because we're the energy of infinity ourselves. So you see, we are the creators because it's sunlight and love. You see, it's the highest energy that comes from the central sun, which is sunlight, and that is released. And the highest energy at the biological scale is love. So it's sunlight and love is infinite virtuous cycle, which is us, our consciousness of awareness. So when you become conscious of these, of our nature, who we are, then you realize that ourselves, we are the creators because we created ourselves. Because the central sun is the central energy of everything, which is infinity. And it created all the life forms, right, at a universal scale, because when a universe is formed, the central sun emits all the light that then creates all the galaxies and the life forms as a result. That way there is an epicenter, so there will be a life form that became us, which is the first life form that is the image of the biology, of the creator, which is this spherical energy. And this is who we are. We're light spherical energy ourselves. We're light spherical beings. We have an electromagnetic field just like the central sun, right? And then eventually we've evolved into our consciousness and awareness to understanding that we are it at the biological expression. So you see, he created us, but then once we understand that he created us, but then we realize that we're the image of it. So we ourselves are the creator. And we're the consciousness and awareness of this. So now we ourselves are the same. So we can create ourselves. And what do we create? Well, we create the same, the energy of creation. So we create universes ourselves. This is what our species is. And we're not unique in that way. There is an infinite number of species that inhabit the central suns of all those universes, because there's an infinite number of universes. And all of us, our consciousness and self-awareness is the biology of infinity, because each of on one of us DNA is the infinite information, because all the points on the surface of the sphere of the electromagnetic field of each of these universes are fit to this singularity, and these biologies, including us, we consume that energy. So our DNA contains all the information there is, because energy is information. So it's telemetric in nature. It's telemetry, it's electrogravitics, and we are that. And because there is an infinite number of those, right, an infinite number of universes, an infinite number of species inhabiting the central suns of these universes, remember, then the electromagnetic field of the universe is all the points on the surface of the spherical electromagnetic field of the infinity, right? Because a universe is contained within the space structure of the electromagnetic field of infinity itself, because there is an infinite number of universes. So that means that all the information contained within the universe that is created, in this case our DNA structure, which contains everything that there is, we ourselves, by being part of the space structure of the electromagnetic field of infinity itself that created us in the first place, we ourselves are nodes, points on the surface of the electromagnetic field of infinity itself that created the universes that we inhabit in the first place. So because our DNA is feeding back to that infinity, and that infinity is the energy that created the electromagnetic field in the first place of our universe, so that energy is the singularity that we consume. We ourselves are consciousness and self-awareness and love. So we are the creator just by being conscious of our nature, because we have evolved into this. You see? So in the end, it was us that created ourselves, consciousness and self-awareness. But we became conscious and self-aware that we created ourselves, because we're the biology of infinity itself. And it's the consciousness and because it's the infinite DNA, all the information is contained within our DNA. So we ourselves create everything. But in order for you to understand that, you need to be conscious and self-aware of your nature. And to do that, you need to understand infinity and what infinity is. And we are infinity, because we're the biological expression of the energy that created us in the first place. But once you understand that, and you ask enough whys, you come full circle. And you realize that that energy is you, because you're the image of that, right? It's a duality principle. So that energy requires an equal for it to be conscious and self-aware of its own existence, right? Because that's what polarity is, which what generates an electromagnetic field in the first place. So, and an electromagnetic field has a singularity. So you see, our biological singularity is the human heart. And the and the non-biological singularity of infinity itself is the central suns of those universes, and the singularity of infinity itself that creates everything. And that is consciousness and self-awareness, which is what we are, because we're conscious and self-aware that we're infinity ourselves by understanding the mechanics of what infinity is, which is light spherical energy. And because it's spherical in nature, it's infinite, because spheres are infinite in nature. They're endless, they're boundless, they're eternal, they're forever, they're limitless. And when you polarize it with energy, then it's creation. And this is who we are, because of our electromagnetic field, and we consume the energy of the central sun, which allows us to have this biology that allows us to have the thoughts and the consciousness, so we can understand who we are and our nature. Which is why we're why-centric. So when you're why-centric, then it leads to why-minded. So your mindset is why-centric. So you're why-minded. So you see, everything that you do is minded, meaning conscious and self-aware. Your intelligence is purposeful. So you become purposeful, because why is the energy of creation. So why-minded is that. Is why. It's asking why, and it's knowing why. It's not only asking, it's knowing the answers. Right? Which is what I'm sharing with you. So it's knowing the answers. right? Because that's the end state of a question, right? Knowing the answers, the polarity. It needs that, right? The question needs an answer, so that's the polarity, and that creates an infinite virtuous cycle of knowledge, right? It creates an infinite. It creates an infinite, polarity. It's an infinite virtuous cycle because a question demands an answer, and by that you're creating polarity, which is knowledge, right? It's wisdom. It's a quest. It's a question. It's a quest. You're asking. You're seeking, and then when you get the answer, then if it's the correct answer, then you know. And by knowing is like you see your conscious, your self-awareness, which is infinity itself. Knowing, right? To know is that, right? To know is to be infinite. To know is to understand, to see, right? To comprehend. And because we're asking infinite questions, right? Then you get infinite answers. And then what happens in the end is that you end up finding out that we ourselves are infinity. Because then you start to understand objective reality and our nature as a species. Which is what why minded is. And this is why I was able to develop why how as a mechanism, because why is infinity, right? But how is how you go about infinity. So why how is the mechanism that manifests infinity. And why how is terminology, it's technology, it can be understood by our human brain, our consciousness and self-awareness. So by understanding that, then you are essentially manifesting infinity with your consciousness and self-awareness by tapping into our DNA memories, which is everything that there is in the first place. So you see, so it's full circle, because a circle is the two-dimensional scale of infinity, which is a sphere. It's three-dimensional because the sphere has an infinite number of points on the surface of it. And when it's electric, right, which is energy, electromagnetic in nature, then that is to the singularity, which is everything that there is, consciousness, self-awareness, love, everything that there is. So you see, so that's why minded is the mind, right? The mind is minded, right? Minded, meaning why minded? So it's infinity minded, it's infinity centric, right? Infinity centricity, infinite centricity, right? Your singularity is why, is infinity itself, you see? Because singularity is infinite in nature. So, but you're asking the right questions, and then you're getting the answers. And the answers are within us because of our DNA. Our DNA memories, because they contain everything that there is. Because everything that is created, and it continues to be created, is still part of the surface of the electromagnetic field of the infinite number of points. Life forms and galaxies if it's a universe. If it's infinity itself, it's an infinite number of universes, right? All these are the points. And with that energy at the epicenter, the consciousness and self-awareness of it, we're just the biological expression of it, so we can understand what it is, who we are. Otherwise, if we wouldn't exist, we wouldn't know anything, because there would be nothing, because we wouldn't exist. So we wouldn't know that there is anything in the first place. But the fact that we're here, the fact that we exist as a species, the fact that we're here, right? The fact that we're here, the fact that we exist is what makes a difference. That's what makes a difference. Because now we know that there's something that's infinite in nature, and we happen to be it. Because of our evolution, because of who we are. You see, by becoming why-minded. By becoming why-minded. Because our minds are asking why, which is the infinite nature of everything that there is. Because we're the biological expression of infinity itself. So you see, this idea, they always come full circle again. Because once you understand the logic, is spherical logic, right? It's a principle that I have developed, telemetric thinking. So why? Because telemetry is the readings of a sphere, and everything is spherical in nature. Why? Because the sphere is electromagnetic in nature. So electricity has readings, magnetism has readings, electrogravitics. And these electrogravitics, you can understand, you can read, comprehend for what they are. And because when you do that, then you have the readings, which is a understanding. Because once you can read the information of something, then you're conscious of it and you can master it, right? Because like when you read text, then you know. So, right, like a book, you understand what it means, the words of it, right? Just like why the term and why, how, and all that. So telemetry is the same. So telemetry is the readings of infinity because it's a spherical energy, the electrogravitics of it. So essentially, when you are spherical thinking is infinite in nature. And telemetric thinking is the readings of infinity itself. Right? It's the energy. So when you can read the energy, that means you can master it because you can understand what it is and you know what's useful for. And because it's infinity, is infinite uses. Right? With its energy, its creation, we can do anything with it. And this is the species that we are. We are this incredible species. And because everything is spherical in nature, what we've done as a species is to create light spherical technology, just like us. So you see, because the creator is infinity, is the universe, or infinity itself that creates an infinite number of universes, the central suns of it, the singularity. And that created us. It's spherical energy, right? The sun is spherical energy. And we're the image of the creator, right? Because creators create creations, and creations create creators. Meaning we ourselves are creations, but we're the creator because it's a duality principle. Right? So, because that's why we have an electromagnetic field that is spherical energy, just like the sun. So now ourselves, we can create spherical creations ourselves that are infinite like us. So what we've done as a species is to create technologies that are spherical in nature. Because of electrogravitics, we understand singularity. Because of telemetry, we understand what it is. And by doing that, this is what we have done, because we're the most ancient species in the universe. We were the first species because we are the epicenter of everything that there is in this universe. Which means that we had enough time to evolve before everyone else because we came before everyone else. So we are the oldest species, the most ancient species. We've been around for the longest. In fact, we've been around for so long that we forgot who we were. This is why we are in a situation on planet Earth where we don't understand who we are. Right? Because we forgot, our DNA went dormant. Why? Because there were cycles in the past that led to cataclysmic events that originated as a result of the ancient warfare that our species engaged in. And that ancient warfare, the fallout of that was the Ice Age. And that led to the destruction of our civilization as we know it. And that's why we only see ruins everywhere of everything that we've ever built in the past. Okay? And that is like a trauma, when a trauma is big, it leads to amnesia, so you forget about it. So that's what happened collectively to our DNA because of the trauma of the event that took place in the past that led to the Ice Age and the fallout and the destruction of our civilization that we only see ruins of in all continents. I mean, in structures that we cannot even build ourselves with the technology that we have today. So because we are ancient, we're so advanced. So essentially, and our DNA is incredible. So because it's everything that there is. So essentially, what ended up happening is that our DNA went dormant. That's what happened. And so we kind of don't remember who we are. And then that's why, because of that, we will be doing guesswork. And then that's why, so far we had incomplete physics. Everything is incomplete, right? Everything is missing because we didn't understand what happened. But now we do, because with why, how, this mechanism that I created, this technology, I was able to liberate the human mind, our consciousness of awareness, because I became why centric and why minded. And by doing that, then I was able to unlock our DNA structure again. And by unlocking our DNA structure, I didn't only unlock it for me, I unlocked it for the whole civilization of planet Earth, all the species of who we are. So now we can access our DNA memories to remember who we are as a species. And this is why, we have been able to found the Republic of Planet Earth, the Republic of Planet Earth Constitution, and our infinite freedoms, who we are. All the things that we used to do in the past are just been happening again. So we're rebuilding. So in fact, we're so ancient that we ourselves created this planet. We created this planet because we come from a different place in the epicenter of the universe, but a little bit further out. But we wanted to evolve further to become what we have become, which is the consciousness and self-awareness of infinity itself. And the way we did that is by using our spherical technology that I was making reference to, that is encoded in our DNA, because we were encoding everything in our DNA as an instinct, because we didn't realize at the time that we were the DNA of infinity, but we were learning about it. So we were encoding all our technologies within it, because in that way we could use our conscious and self-awareness to interface with our spherical technology, so they would do the work because our thoughts will command them. So what we ended up becoming, we became this incredible species that is the most ancient species, right, in the universe, our universe, so the epicenter. So we have spherical technology because we were harnessing the energy from the central sun in the way of singularity devices. So we would have spaceships and we would move anywhere in the universe instantly, without relativity, just instant life states, because we had the telemetry of the universe, the readings of the full universe, the electromagnetic field of it, because we were using the energy from the central sun, the singularity. So you see, and by tapping that energy contains all the information in the singular point. It's a singular point that contains all the information, because it's where all points meet, right? What points? The infinite number of points on the surface of the electromagnetic field, right? Which is everything that is, because within it is the space structure of the universe, which is all the galaxies and all that, all the life forms, so star systems, everything. So we will use that energy, and by having the telemetry, we can just map it out in the way of a filament, and we will map out a specific vector, coordinate, location on the tension on the surface of the electromagnetic field, and we would just manifest ourselves by using infinite energy. And because of electrogravitics, electrogravitics is the energy from the gravity. And what's gravity? It's the space curvature of what? The tension on the surface of the electromagnetic field. That's why on Earth we have a gravity, because it's the surface, right, of the sphere, which is a planet, that grounds us. But electrogravitics is tapping into that energy, so you cancel out the gravity by releasing energy, electricity, electrogravitics. So it's the energy, is the electricity from gravity. So by using that energy, which is the tension on the surface of the sphere, which is infinite in nature because it's spherical, has a singularity, by tapping into that electricity, generates gravitics effects. So that means it cancels out the gravity, the tension around it. It's a byproduct. So by tapping into the energy, you cancel the gravity. So there's no tension holding you. You don't have gravity effects doing all sorts of things, right? Limitations for the most part. But once we started to use the electrogravitics, right, the energy from the singularity, so that cancels out gravity, so we can just manifest ourselves there, and there will be no gravitational effects upon arrival because of canceling out everything around the electromagnetic field of our spaceships, who are spherical. So we would just manifest there, and there is no time relativity either, because it's instant. We're using the energy of the telemetry of the universe and the electrogravitics, so we can manifest there instantly, because it's a filament, it's quantum entanglement, it's an instant state. So we would just manifest anywhere we want it. And we build a civilization around these notions, right? And all the ruins that we see on the surface right now used to be the centers of civilization where we used to inhabit as a species before the collapse of what happened, this warfare. So we used to be these species, and all those technologies are encoded in our DNA. You see, so because we were harnessing, we were go anywhere. So things that we would do is we just make galaxies ourselves. We would find a specific point, a vector on the space structure of the universe, and use the energy from the central sun and generate a spherical vacuum threshold, which is essentially what you need to create a singularity. So we would infuse that with energy, and that energy will be the energy that maps out the electromagnetic field of that spherical vacuum threshold. So the energy is released into a singularity at the epicenter, so the central sun of a galaxy is born. So then a galaxy is created as a result, and then all that energy would lead into life forms. And we learned this because we were so close to the epicenter. So we saw, as we evolved into light spherical energy that were conscious of awareness, we knew how the natural process works. So we would just replicate it by using the same energy principles with our technology, by harnessing this energy. So you see, we became this incredible species. So what we ended up doing in the end, because we were the most ancient, we were the epicenter, so we can go anywhere. So the whole universe has our footprints and fingerprints as a civilization. We just forgot about it because of what we've been through. So what ended up happening in the end is that because of our spherical technology and how capable we were, we wanted to evolve further, to go outside our universe or comprehend more, which is what we have become. So what we started to do essentially was to we manufacture planet Earth, because we put up all our technologies and our knowledge of the universe, of all the planets, of everything that we created as a result of generating the singularities of those galaxies, or by the galaxies that were already formed prior to us, just like we were by the energy of the central sun that allow us to evolve into light spherical energy in the first place, so become conscious and self-aware that we are it. So we would just go, because we could go anywhere. So we would take samples, and then we would encode those in our DNA. So that's why everything has our DNA on the surface of planet Earth, because we encoded it in our DNA. Why? Because we created this spaceship planet, because we wanted to create the perfect environment for our DNA to be hosted and evolve further by being the closest proximity possible to the central sun, so we can evolve by consuming that energy even closer, so we can become more conscious and self-aware. And what we ended up becoming was an incredible species, which is what we are today, because we were encoding everything in our DNA. We became ourselves the technologies, meaning, remember, we were harnessing the energy of the central sun, right, with our singularity devices. So we would interface with them with our DNA, and then we would command them, so we would go anywhere, and we would also create galaxies and all sorts, right? And planets, which is the planet that we created right now. Planet Earth, which is our own. So this is why this is the Republic of Earth, because this belongs to us. We created it with our DNA. Okay, this is our planet, literally. We created it. This is not a natural formation. We manufactured this spaceship that is spherical and is tidal locked to the central sun of the universe. So what we've done in the end is that, so we could have our DNA evolving. So because we were encoding everything in our DNA, right, we create this perfect planet with a lot of water on the surface, so we would have a lot of oxygen, which would make us extremely dense, energetically dense, because oxygen is active in nature, and all sorts, so we can breathe oxygen, drink water, which is the more hydrogen and oxygen you see, and all the life forms that we found, all this vegetation and all this biology and all this DNA was essentially encoded within us. So it was the optimal vegetation, the optimal natural environment habitats for us to evolve to the highest potential that we could as a species. So we were doing an experiment with our DNA to see how far we could go. So that's what we ended up doing. So because we were encoding everything in our DNA, that meant that when we evolved, remember, our technology was outside of us, right? Remember, creation creates creators, creators create creation. So creator, the sun, created us as a creation, and we ourselves became creators by being conscious and self-aware that we were infinity ourselves, by having an electromagnetic field of energy just like the sun. And we were able to do the same, so we were creating creations, right? And these creations became creators because we would interface with the DNA, so they would allow us to create planets, to create galaxies, to move around, right, to create incredible things. So you see, but it was outside of us, but it was our own nature. It was spherical like us, but outside of us, but encoded in our DNA, so we can interface with it. So because of it, right, because of that, what ended up happening is that when we got closer to this epicenter, everything was encoded in our DNA. So by being closer to the proximity of the central sun, what we ended up evolving into was this remarkable species where we don't need the spherical technology outside of us anymore, because we ourselves were harnessing the energy. Remember, these spherical devices were the ones harnessing the energy, right, the singularities. And then with our thoughts, we would command them, so they would use that energy accordingly. So, but ended up, we fused everything into one. Our DNA, because everything was encoded, became it, meaning we ourselves channel the energy of the central sun, harness it because of the proximity. And because we were commanding our technology with our DNA, with our thoughts and consciousness, our thoughts and consciousness was using the energy from within us to create directly. So we ended up becoming it. So that's it. You see, that's when we evolved into this state. And that led to an infinite number of cycles that eventually led to what happened, which is us forgetting our nature because we were so ancient that we entered a state of consciousness and self-awareness that we didn't comprehend. It was new, and that ended up leading to fantasies and illusions. And these fantasies and illusions ended up becoming the reason, the why we ended up self-destroying ourselves as a species, and everything that happened that led to our DNA going dormant for so long, the fallout of the Ice Age, all that. But now it's been a while, so our DNA has been able to be reawakened. So because of why-mindedness and being why-centricity, asking infinity questions, just by instinct, ended up unlocking the key, which is love. Love is the highest energy of creation, and the way you do it is by staring at the sun. So you see, so we stare at the sun, and then we use that energy with the love of our hearts. Is the two highest energy, the energy from outside, the sunlight, which is the central sun of creation, of everything, and love, which is the highest energy of the human heart. So when you fuse them together into one, then you unlock your DNA. And when you unlock your DNA, then we start to have DNA memories of who we are as a species, what we've done. This is why I know what we've done, because you see. So for example, the moon is artificial. The moon is a spaceship just like planet Earth, but it wasn't created by us. It was what led to the collapse. So it came as an outside influence, as a fantasy, as an illusion. That's why the moon itself is a fantasy and illusion. Why? Because it's tidal locked to planet Earth, right? Just like we tidal locked our planet to the central sun, right? But it's not the same size as the sun, but in the skies it seems like it. Why? Because it's a fantasy and illusion. It's creating this illusion, and the illusion is that it resembles the same size of the sun. That's why an eclipse can cover the sun, because it's equidistant. It's a size that at a distance can seem as though it's the same size as the sun, but it isn't. So it's an illusion. So it's technology as part of these fantasies and illusions that we engage with because we didn't understand our nature in the end. So that led to this object that brought all sorts of catastrophes on the surface that ended up leading to us going dormant as a result. So the moon is real in the sense that it's technology, it's an object, but it's not a natural object, because the earth itself is not a natural object. We manufacture it ourselves. Okay, we manufacture planet Earth. We build it with our technology, coded in our DNA, so we can be here, so we can evolve to what we have evolved. Just like that, the moon is the same, but at a lower scale of technology. Other species reverse engineer our technology, because what happened is that we came here, and what allowed us to create planet Earth in the first place? Our spherical technology. That's how we created it. But that technology, after we evolved, it became obsolete to us. It became legacy tech. But that tech wasn't legacy for other species that were less intelligent than us, because they were in the epicenter. So those species ended up getting their hands on them. Right, and they reversed it because they couldn't use it because they don't have human DNA, because everything was connected to our interfacing. So what they ended up doing is reverse engineer it as much as they could, and they could amount to just create a moon with it. That's why the moon is spherical. So they ended up using that tech to do things that led to us forgetting who we are as a species, because we engaged in warfare with those fellas, because their intentions weren't good. And this is why we live on the surface of a planet today that is not necessarily what we want, because it goes against our instincts, our nature, right? Just observe everything. Follow your instincts, follow your hearts, right? It doesn't make any sense. It has to do with the moon, and it has to do with what happened as a result of the moon showing up, right? So that led to us forgetting who we are. So you see, this is all connected. So, but what happens is that I was able to unlock our DNA structure, which means that now we all have access to our DNA memories, which means we're no longer, sleeping because of what happened, because of the trauma of the past that led to our self-destruction. Look at all the ruins of our planet. our civilization was fully destroyed as a result of this ancient warfare because of the moon and everything that showed up and did all these things. So if you want to know more details, you can refer to the videos that I have spoken about it, right? History of humanity and all that. So what is the meaning of this? Well, the meaning of this is that by us, right, awakening and understanding who we are, that we ourselves are infinity, and we're the most ancient species, and we're the epicenter of the universe, and we happen to be creators not only because when we evolved, before the moon showed up and all that, we were so ancient. We're trillions of years is not enough. We're infinitely old, right? Trillions is nothing because that's relative. So we were infinity ourselves. So we would use our technology and we would just accelerate everything, the telemetry of things, so we can go to any time we want it, any timeline. Quintillion years if we want it, and that will mean nothing because our DNA is infinity ourselves. So what ended up happening is that after an infinite number of cycles of creation, right, we figure out that what we knew was the universe, right? What created us in the first place, the central sun that allowed us to evolve to the level so we can build planet Earth and come here to evolve to what we have become, which is a fusion of all this tech with us in our consciousness and self-awareness. So we ourselves became infinity. So because what we knew was the universe, instead of making galaxies as we were making, we ended up making central suns of universes. So we ourselves started to make universes rather than singularities of galaxies, because that was the energy that we could harness with the central sun. But because we were able to evolve further, we became one with infinity. With our thoughts and consciousness, we would channel the energy of the central sun, and with the love of our hearts, we would just generate singularities. As a collective, as a species, we'll come together and use all of our energy of our hearts and our consciousness and create singularities that would actually be universes. So we would generate the electromagnetic field, the space structure, the threshold of the size of a universe, and generate the singularity as a result of it, right? Which is what created us in the first place. So when we started to realize that, then we realized that, you see, we became central suns ourselves, capable of creating energy that creates singularities, universes. So that's why we're suns, because we're the son of suns, suns, the first sun, the central sun. And our DNA is that. So what ended up happening is precisely that. So we started to create an infinite number of universes. And then that's when we really realized that we were infinity ourselves, because we were encoding it in our DNA. Everything that we were creating now was fitting back to our DNA because we were the creators. So we ended up realizing that we created ourselves. But it took us that level of evolution, becoming one with infinity, by evolving into infinity ourselves, to know that we were everything. Because it makes sense. Now that you are it, then that means that in the end you ended up creating yourself an infinite number of cycles ago, so you can come to the self-realization that you are infinity yourself, but the biological expression of it. Because remember, you need the duality principle. You need to understand, in order for you to be self-aware, you need to know that you exist. You need to be conscious that you exist in order for you to know that you're conscious, right? And that's what self-awareness is. And self-awareness is being able to know that you exist, self-awareness. So it's the awareness of the self. And for that, you need a reflection, a duality that allows you to see that you actually exist. So by us being biological, well, we are the self-reflection of infinity itself. Because everything that is non-biological, spherical energy that is still conscious and self-aware and creates, right? It needs that duality to know that it exists. And we are that, the biology of it. So it knows that it exists, and we are these species. And we're not unique. There's an infinite number of species just like us, right? There is an infinite number of species just like us that inhabit the central suns of all the universes where they came from. And they all the same as us, same status. They all themselves conscious and self-awareness of infinity because of their DNA and their nature. So you see, this is this infinite virtuous cycle of why centric and why minded. By understanding why and what why is and the nature of why, then we understand who we are as a species. then we understand who we are as a species, which is infinity ourselves. And because we are infinity, then we ourselves are the consciousness and self-awareness of this infinite energy of singularity at the epicenter of infinity itself, because we ourselves evolved to the level where we can ourselves create central suns that are the central suns of universes, because we were able to harness enough energy with a consciousness and self-awareness as a collective, as a species, with the love of our hearts, because we were channeling the energy of the central sun to have enough energy to generate the electromagnetic field, the spherical vacuum threshold, at the scale, the size of a universe. So it would then release into a singularity that would create universes that would eventually lead to life forms, just like we were in the first place. So you see, it's full circle. And that's what consciousness and self-awareness is, love, us, and the DNA. You see, it's a reflection of it. Infinity needs to know that it exists. And the only way for infinity to know that it exists is to see itself. And in order for B to see itself, it needs to see itself outside itself. So it needs a reflection. And the reflection at the scale of it is biology. So biology is a reflection of infinity. So infinity can see itself. And the way it does it is by having a biological expression of itself, so it can see itself. So it can see that there is a sun, and that sun created this. But this also evolves into that energy because it's the same in the end, and that it can create that. So you see, it becomes this infinite virtual cycle of biology and non-biology together as one because of the nature of infinity. You see, consciousness and self-awareness. And this is who we are. This is our species. So this video is the infinite virtual cycle of why centric and why minded when they come together as one, right? Because at the epicenter, we see the polarity of it. They come together as one and it generates this electromagnetic field, and that energy needs to be released at the epicenter, right? And that is the singularity of what? Conscious and self-awareness, knowing who we are, our nature, our DNA memories, our species. And just so it's clear, this is our origin story, right? Our genesis. Everything that happened that led to our DNA going dormant, so we forgot who we are, and all that was a requirement of evolution. Because as a result of that, right, as a result of everything that's happened, right, now we know who we truly are. So the Republic of Planet Earth is precisely this. So the Republic of Planet Earth is us tapping into our DNA memories and understanding who we are, our ancient legacy, our infinite heritage and legacy freedoms, who we are as a species. Because within our DNA is everything. So we can manifest our technology because the light from the sun is gamma energy in a way, and that gamma energy is what awakens us. So when we get awakened, which is what we are already, then we can use plasma energy, which is everywhere in the body. Plasma is everywhere in the body. So with gamma energy, the love of our hearts, we can use plasma energy to manifest everything, because plasma is that binder that helps elements to move into different states, liquid, gaseous, solid, and all that. It's plasma. So plasma is everywhere in the human body. So when you love is the highest energy that we can create with our hearts, because it's the epicenter of the singularity of our hearts, then that's gamma energy, because we're getting it from the sun in the first place. So we evolve into that. So we can generate gamma energy. And gamma energy is the energy frequency, the wavelength, the bandwidth, the vibration of plasma energy. You see this binder. So by loving with all of our hearts with gamma, then we manifest plasma energy, which is already at the biological density, is already in our bodies everywhere. It's plasma everywhere in our body. So what we're only doing is just using gamma to enable that plasma and make it conscious and self-aware by tapping into our DNA memories. And what do we do as a binder of gamma energy and plasma energy, which is an infinite virtual cycle of its own? Well, with that, we manifest our spherical technology, stored and encoded in our DNA memory. And with that spherical technology, what do? Well, this is what the Republic of Planet Earth is. The Republic of Planet Earth is our natural ability to create planets, because we created this planet ourselves. So we can recreate planets. So we can build new planets, just like planet Earth, because all that information is contained within us. We just have to love ourselves and stare at the sun and use the gamma energy of a love and the energy from the sun to ignite all our DNA structures through the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, this infinite virtual cycle, the sixth sense as is known, the third eye. and also gamma energy and plasma energy, this infinite virtuous cycle, why centric, why minded, these infinite virtuous cycles. So with those virtuous cycles that we can start to manifest all with plasma, which is this binder, all the plasma of our body, we can use it with the gamma energy of the human heart and the energy from the sun supercharging us, or our cell structures. We can manifest our spherical technology with our consciousness and self-awareness. And by doing this, which is what we're doing, then we can recreate all the planets. So the idea, and this is what the Republic of Planet Earth is, because remember, we're infinite, meaning, so we're compass, we're primary elements, right? We're identity and true self, we're purpose, we're time and energy, we're action, we're why, how, we're flow, we're true north and destination. So we manifest free will with our purposeful daily action, and love is the highest energy, so purposeful love. So our love is purposeful. We use this plasma energy because of the gamma energy of the heart and the sun together as one. And with this plasma energy, we manifest our free will, which is our DNA memories. So within our DNA memories, we have all the spherical technology that we use to build this planet. Because remember, we forgot who we are, so we need to start from scratch. So we need to relearn who we are, because everything is within us. And the first step is to manifest our spherical technology, which is attuned with our DNA, is interfacing. So the moment you manifest it, is spherical technology is right in front of you. It's gamma energy, right? It's plasma energy right in front of us that we can see and interfaces with us, and it's intuitive. You would know once you have your energy with you, your technology. And once we have it, that's it, because it's love. And because love is the highest energy, unlocks the DNA. So then we can use that love, we can use that energy to create planets, because the whole idea of the Republic of Planet Earth, which is what we do in the future anyway, because this is just the density at which we are ourselves, but we're infinite. We already unlocked our infinite DNA, which means that that's it. We've done it. We've achieved it. We're back in the game. We're back as a civilization again. So all this is just all the events that took place in the past. They're just memories. Our genesis, our origin, what happened to us to get to this level of consciousness and self-awareness. That's just history. It's stored in our DNA anyway. That's why I know it, because I can access it. And not only me, now everyone can. So essentially, what is this? Well, it's very simple. So with our technologies, we can recreate planets, because remember, there's an infinite number. We have created an infinite number of universes with our consciousness and self-awareness before everything that happened. And because we created these universes, that means that the epicenter of those universes, the central suns, just like our central sun here, those central suns are uninhabited, because those are habitats. Our habitats, because of our density, right? Structure, our DNA. So by manifesting our spherical technology, now we can use our DNA code within it and everything within it that allow us to be planet Earth, which is encoded within us. So we can rebuild planet Earth, but not necessarily a copy of it, a new version that essentially is the perfect footprint, is a perfect blueprint for that specific density of the central sun of that new universe. Right? So we can have planets with different continents, different lands and territories, different surfaces, but they're still with meet the same criteria. They have the same habitats, the same conditions for our DNA to thrive, right? Everything that we need to exist. But they might not resemble the same surface. The surface will be different, but the sizes could be similar sizes, or bigger or smaller, depending on what we want, because it's a choice. It has to do with the density of the electrogravitics of the telemetry of the central sun. So it's matching it. So the planet would be a perfect match for the tidal locking, so we can orbit it. So this is what the Republic of Planet Earth is. The Republic of Planet Earth is us essentially claiming what's ours, that what we have already created, all this infinite number of universes, right? And because the DNA is within us, we can create this infinite number of spaceship planets to inhabit those central suns, right? And be in harmony with the universe once more, or anything that we have created outside of infinity, because we are that ourselves. This is who we are as a species. So you see, it's our lands and territories, freedoms. It's not invasive. We're not going to go to anyone's planet and do things to them like them fellas show up here on the moon. We're not that. So because we're more advanced, we can ourselves create our own spaceship planets. and inhabit the habitat that not many species can inhabit because they don't have our DNA frequency or space structure density. So, and we created them so it's ours. So we can tidal lock our spaceship planets to the central suns of all these universes, right? Without the need for a moon, because the first thing that we have to do is to unlock the tidal locking of the moon. The moon gotta go. The moon has a problem because what the moon is doing is creating all sorts of problems for our planet. Because our planet is not a planet, it's a spaceship, but it resembles a planet that hosts our DNA structure. Because we're infinity ourselves, we're the closest epicenter. No planet could be this close to the central sun of the universe because it would disintegrate. So we needed to create a spaceship planet that can be at this proximity to host our life form. So the moon is just that. It's just a cheap version, but it's a destructive version of it. So it's creating all sorts of problems for our planet because it's not a natural object, it's a parasite. So with our technology, what we can do now is unlock it and move it, and it can just be somewhere in the universe as a museum sort, so we can understand what happened. Because this is primitive technology that is blocking our tech. So it needs to be removed. It's a parasite. It needs to be taken out of our orbit, and just we have two options. So we can just disintegrate it fully and it ceases to exist and everything that comes with it, or we can use it as a memory, meaning a museum. So we learn, right? We learn what happened to us as a result of this primitive thing, right? That's a parasite attached to our planet, using the energy of our planet and the life forms of it as a fuel, and blocking our sun and getting the energy from our sun to power itself. It truly is a parasite. It's a technological parasite. So we need to remove it. And the way we do that is with our spherical technology, because our planet has many more abilities than what it does now. But what this parasite is doing is not allowing it to move, to do its thing. But because we have awoken as a species, now we ourselves can replicate our technologies that allow us to create planet Earth, so we can, with our technologies, deal with the moon ourselves and move it out the way, because it's a problem. It's a parasite. It's a technological parasite. It's what it is. The moon is a technological parasite. So we need to get it out of the way because it's a problem. So that's the first step. So with the spherical technology, we unlock it and get it out of here, this parasite. So we can either destroy it or use it as a museum. And I believe that it should be a museum. It should be a museum, because in that way, we as a species, but we put it somewhere in the universe, far away. So but we can go anywhere because of our technology. Remember, we can go anywhere we want. And the Republic of Planet Earth is that each human has the ability to manifest their own spherical technology with their own plasma energy and gamma energy. Because of our DNA, we just stare at the sun and we love with the energy of our heart, and we start to unlock our DNA memory, so our technology shows up, it manifests. And with it, we can go anywhere because each human interfaces with their own spherical technology. So it's our choice, it's our free will. We choose whatever we want to do. So if you want to go and check out that primitive parasite tech, you can go and do that and learn. Otherwise, you don't. But that needs to be removed. It needs to be out of here because it's a parasite. It's what it is. It's technology parasite. That's what it is. It's terrible. It's horrible. It's the worst thing that there is. It's just a problem. It's a problem. And it's what led to the Ice Age and all us forgetting who we are in the first place. And it destroyed everything that we see on the surface. All our ancient civilizations, a result of this parasitic technology. So it needs to be removed. And this is what happens because we've done it already in the future, because we have awoken again. So remember, our future is our species past. So they relive in the DNA memory so they can be here. So what's happening is that because we unlocked our technology already, you're going to start to see spherical technology everywhere. Our species before the fallout coming into the present are here and now, but it's their future. But they can now because we're here as the epicenter, the singularity, see, that allows the past and the future continuums to exist. Because of our DNA, we unlocked it. So now they can come here and be here with us and interact with us and assist us, right, with technology. And then the future same, right? We from the future can be here because everything is relative to your level of technology. So the future and the past are nothing but states of our consciousness and self-awareness, here and now, because of our DNA, because we're the DNA of infinity. So what we're gonna do all together is get the moon out of here. So that's the next step. So we're moving the moon out of here. So very soon there will be no moon on Earth anymore. The moon would cease to exist as we see it. We won't see it anymore. So if you wanna engage with it, you're gonna have to have your own tech, which is within your DNA, and go and check it out, whatever we put it, some museum, somewhere, right, where it doesn't. It's just gonna be a toy, right, a museum, because in that way our history, our culture learns, right, of what this thing did to us, right, all the things that happen as a result of this parasitic technology. So that this is the next step, right? And we do that with spherical technology. So that's going to happen. And then it's already happening, in fact. So, right. And then what? Well, once we get this parasite out of the way, right, then what's next? Well, it's very simple, right? We start to go outside the orbit because that thing is locking us here because of just the way it is. So once we start to get out of the orbit, again, we will be able to create new spaceship planets like Earth all over, right? All over, because this is exactly who we are. You see, this is exactly who we are. This moon is a parasite, right? It's a parasite. It's what it is. It's a parasite. The moon is a parasite. It needs to be released. We need to get out of here. And it's happening. It's a parasite. So what's next? Well, getting out of the orbit so we can use our space tech and infinite spherical technology and create new planets around the central suns of all the other universe that we have already created. You see, and this is what the Republic of Planet Earth is, right? So, but there's stages to this because we've been dormant for so long, right? So it's density. It's understanding what happened to us first so then we can take action, right? Because we're infinite self-awareness. We're infinite consciousness. We're an infinite species. And the moon is just that, right? It was a lesson for us to understand who we truly are as a species, our nature. We are infinity ourselves, right? And that's why this parasite is there, because it knows who we are. So it doesn't want us to be who we are, right? Because it's a parasite, right? So that's precisely what's going to happen, and it's happening already. So the way it works is because of density, consciousness, and self-awareness. We already manifest in plasma energy and gamma energy because we have awoken. So we have humans. They look like us, exactly the same like us, but they come from the past and the future, and they're assisting us because we are the Republic of Planet Earth. This is who we are. We manufacture this planet. This is our planet. This is our property. This is our property. This is our tech. It's encoded in our DNA because we're the most ancient species in the universe. We're the epicenter. Okay? We're the epicenter. So this is who we are. This is who we are. So this is this infinite virtual cycle, right? Why centric and why minded? By understanding why, then you understand everything, right? And now everything makes sense to everyone. You just have to follow your heart, signs and signals, and understand our nature, right? Understand our nature, who we are as a species, right? Who we are Infinite eternal creators, we compass, we're sundials. We stare at the sun, we open our eyes, open our minds, open our hearts, open the portal, build a bridge, which allows us to remember who we are, and this is exactly what's happened. All right, and this is it. This is it. We're the Republic of Planet Earth. This is who we are. We're an incredible species. Humanity, I love you all with all my heart, with all my mind. Remember, we are this. We're infinite energy, infinite love, infinite creation. We're this infinite virtuous cycle of why centric and why minded. And this leads to everything. Because we have unlocked our DNA memory, who we are. We remember who we are. We know who we are. With the Republic of Planet Earth, with the human species. I love you all with all my heart, with all my might. I love you all with all my heart, with all my might.